Hey, 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 you guys, come on in. Come on in. Come on in. While you guys are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and share the broadcast. I want you to do the same. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? I'm excited about the word today. Y'all come on, y'all. Let me go and share. So bear with me as I share. Good morning. Y'all know the drill. Let me know who's here and where you're tuning in from. Who's here and where are you tuning in from? Now I'm going to go ahead and share. Hold on. Let me share, share, share. You all do the same. Okay. All right. I have shared. All right, you guys. Listen, great day, great day. Super excited for you guys to be here. Do this real quick just to make sure. All right. So I'm excited for today's word, y'all. I'm excited for today's word. And the word is simply trust God's timing. But do me a favor before we get started. Go ahead, share the broadcast, share the broadcast. And once you've shared, let me know that you shared. Share the broadcast and let me know that you shared. We getting ready to get into this word because this word right here is it's gonna bless your soul. Hey, Neek, how are you, beautiful? So good to see you. Yes, 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 guys. Yes, honey. I am here for it, honey. This word is moving today. This word is moving. And see, one of the things I love about God is not a static God. The God is not a static God. And we're going to talk about static and dynamic as it relates to science and as it relates to God, right? So static means that it is still not moving, right? Dynamic means that it's continually moving. And see, the Spirit of God is not static, it is continually moving, it's dynamic, it is ongoing. And as such, because the Spirit of God resides within us, God resides within us, we are God's with a lowercase g. We ought to be dynamic. We ought not to be static, still, stuck, stagnant. If we are static, still, stuck, and stagnant, that is not the activated Spirit of God. That's not the activated Spirit of God. Doesn't mean you don't have the Spirit of God. It means it's not activated. The activated Spirit of God begins to move, begins to shift, begins to change, begins to evolve. Like it's ever moving, ever going, ever changing, right? So even though God doesn't change, what is that? Great morning, Eileen. How are you, my friend, my sister? So if we know that God is not static, God is not stagnant. Hey, man of God, how are you, sir? Amen, Nick. Praise God. Praise God. And I don't know why he had me to focus on that, but he did, right? Because I think, y'all hold on, I'm getting choked up. I think that sometimes we want to make God like church. Church be static, stagnant, still, stuck. Okay. And when I say church, I mean religion. So that's what religion is. Relationship is dynamic. If we're caught up in religion, we're going to find ourselves static, still, stagnant, stuck. But when we're in relationship is ever dynamic. Each conversation is unique. It's like a dance, right? So there are some dances that rely heavily on how you all flow together. It's about the flow. See, God is a God of flow. I'm telling y'all, God is a God of flow. And when God is flowing, you know he's flowing. You know he's flowing. How do you know? Something in your spirit begins to leap. You know, when Mary, when she was pregnant with Jesus, went to see Elizabeth, and she was pregnant with John, and John began to leap in Elizabeth's womb. John began to leap because he felt the dynamic presence of the Savior. He felt the dynamic presence of Jesus. He felt the Spirit of God in the womb of the woman, and he began to respond to it. Listen, how much more so should we be responding to the Spirit of God when the Spirit of God is in us? And if the Spirit of God is dynamic, if the Spirit of God is ever moving, ever changing, ever evolving, ever evoking, then we ought to see something on the inside of us and the outside of us. It ought to show up. Now, we got to understand that when we do that and we trust God's divine timing, because his timing is everything. If we just trust God's time, I know we have our time frame and our time schedule and when we think things are supposed to happen. I know we do, but baby, it ain't about what your time is. It's about what God's time is. It's not about what you want. It's about what God desires for us. And when we accept that God's will for us is better than what we would will for ourselves, God's will for us is better than what we would will for ourselves. I had to put my do not disturb on. Okay. Good morning, sissy. How are you, gorgeous? So we got to trust God's timing, trust his divine timing. Now, it may take longer than we want. It may not happen exactly when we want, but when it happens, it's happening when God needs it to happen. See, you don't always understand the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the peaks, the valleys in what's going on in your process. I like to think about it like this. While we're on the checkerboard, God is on the chessboard. So God is playing chess while we're playing checkers. So if you're trying to play checkers, but God is playing chess, it's going to look crazy to you. You're going to see some things sacrificed. It's going to look strange. Things are not moving the way they're supposed to move, but that's because you're on the wrong board. You're looking at it through the wrong lens. So when I think about what God is doing in our lives right now, baby, he's playing this masterful game of chess. Every piece on the board plays a role. Every piece on the board has an important job. There's something about that piece and the way that piece is moving that's significant, even if some of the pieces end up being sacrificed. Did y'all hear what I said? Sometimes pieces have to be sacrificed. Hey, sissy, Pastor Edward said, it may be your time, but not your turn. That's a word right there, man of God. It may be your time, but not your. Oh, we in the vein. We in the vein, Doc. We in the vein. So it may be your time, right? You know that this is your time, this is your season, but it ain't your turn yet. So within the time, different people have different turns, right? But if you see someone and it's their turn, baby, you need to get excited because it means if their turn, then it means it's getting closer to your turn. Okay, it's getting closer to your turn. Hey, Shannon, how you doing, beautiful? So the timing of God is perfect with his dynamic self, right? With his ongoing, unchanging, like he's always moving. The Spirit of God moves. It's not still, it's not stuck. It moves, right? It's moving. It's moving in us, moving around us, it's moving in the people near us. Like the Spirit of God is moving. So check this out. I'm gonna say it, and it might not be popular. Okay. I'm gonna say it and it might not be popular, but when does that ever stop me from saying what I gotta say? Okay. Sometimes what happens with us is we get caught up in what we think our time should be. When we think it should happen in our life. And I look at people's lives and we wonder why our young people feel so much pressure, but I get it. You think about it. People are expecting you to be married by a certain age, have your first child by a certain age. And what we're discovering, I wish we would pay attention. I wish we would pay attention. Most people really are not ready for marriage when they're in the early 20s. And I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying most people, right? They don't know who they are. They don't know their purpose. They're not walking in their purpose. They are simply doing life, living life. They're in love. They get married. And I'm not saying that it can't work. I'm not saying that, hear me, but it requires a different type of preparation, right? See, I'm a firm believer that most people are not ready when they're in their early 20s because they've not discovered themselves. They don't know who they are. They don't know what God's plan is for their life. Now, if you know what God's plan is for your life and you know your mission and your purpose and your destiny, and the other person does too, and your purposes align, your purpose partners, your mission mates, like if y'all have figured that out, then hey, go for it. Go for it. Let everybody support you, encourage you, and help you walk that thing out. Okay, knowing that you may have some challenges, but challenges is a part of life, right? Not pushing problems on you, but just knowing that as you grow, if you all are not evolving together, that can present some challenges. But knowing that if your purpose partners and your mission mates, you can work through it. You can get on the other side of it and still have a healthy, long marriage that the world can look at and say, wow, look at them. Okay. Here we go back to this marriage and relationship stuff. I don't know why, but anyway. So then when we look at life and we look at these, the number of suicides that are being committed, particularly by young women, particularly by young African American women. Y'all, I want y'all to understand that there is a trauma that is being experienced by young African American women, especially successful African American women. There is this feeling of being an outsider, being ostracized, people not really understanding. They look like they've got everything in the world that they could want. They're beautiful, they're smart, they're successful, all of the things that the world says you desire, but they're missing something. And what I've noticed is in these instances, normally these women do not have a man. They have not met the trajectory that the world and society has set for them. They're not married, they don't have children, and so they feel somehow deficient because they're not. See, listen, I came to bless somebody today. I came to bless somebody today. If you're in your 20s and 30s and you have not been married and you don't have any kids, baby, you listen, relax. Relax. If he can give Sarah a baby in her 90s, honey, listen, you can get a baby in your late 30s, early 40s, late 40s, early 50s, late 50s. It don't matter when. When it is your time, then it is your time, and God will take care of you. But what you got to understand is that the biggest thing that you can do when you're in that early formative stage of your life, your 20s and your 30s, is discover God's purpose for you. Now, people can talk about your career and your success in your career. Yeah, I get that. I've done that. But I'm talking about God's plan for you, God's purpose for your life. See, because once you discover God's purpose for your life, your life has meaning. Once you discover God's purpose for your life has meaning. Now, the meaning is in you fulfilling your purpose. Now, look, I know it doesn't take the place of a mate or a partner, and I get it. Being single after being married, of course, 5 times. But to one person split up about 20 years, right? So I was married like the majority of my adult life. There were very few years between the age of about 23 and 54, 55 that I wasn't married. Like 5, 6 years, maybe seven that I wasn't married. Okay. To somebody. Okay. But look, this is the thing. It was unfulfilled. And it wasn't that something was so wrong with him. It was that I couldn't see me. I couldn't really see me. And when you can't really see you, it's difficult for someone else to really see you. If you can't really see you, I finally am at a point where I really see me and I believe who God says I am. Like, I believe it. It's non negotiable. Like, I'm going to be me. Like, this is who I've been called to be, and I'm going to be that. So when my aunt says to me, I love how you are, that you just, you do what God says, and regardless of what people think and whether they think it's church or not, or whether they think it's God or not. I said, Auntie, it took me a long time to get here because I would be not concerned, but concerned. You know how you act like you're not concerned, but you're really concerned? Like, I can't believe they don't get it from God. Now, my purpose is too great. My mission is too mighty for me to sit back and be concerned about whether or not people agree with how God shows up in me, how God uses me, how I move in my life, because my life is just that, mine. Though I am a pastor, though I am a prophet, though I'm an evangelist, though I am a teacher, though I'm an apostle, though I'm all of those things, my life is still mine. And when I say mine, I mean that's me and God. That's me and God. Okay. So it's mine, but it's not mine because I give it up for him, right? So look, but it may not look like y'all want it to look. Okay with that. Because what I know is every time in my life, there was something that God wanted to remove from my life. He did it. And he did it not beating me over the head with scriptures. He did it not beating me up. He did it not punching me in my eye, kicking me in my belly, chopping me in my throat. He did it with love. Now, he may have used some harsh words with me, and I don't mean curse words, but I mean, he may use it. God talked to me like I talk, right? He, he'd be like, you tripping. And I'll be like, God, why would you say that? I'm not tripping. Yes, you are. What did I tell you to do? Listen, we're not talking about that right now. See, this is me and God talk. We're not talking about that right now. Why are you bringing up that? Because then you gonna do what and I be like, God, listen, I want to do that. I do. Why I always gotta be the one? Why I always gotta? And he'd be like, because I said it. That's just how he talks to me. That's our conversation. That's our love language, right? Our love language is truth. Our love language is authenticity. Our love language is when I get a little crazy, he get a little crazy back with me. Okay. And I look at God and I think about God like I think about my husband. Like I be able to give me when I get crazy, right? Not to say get crazy, but you know what I'm saying? When I get in that place where I'm not doing that, I believe that he gonna know me well enough to know exactly what to do in a moment. You know, when I tell my students and stuff, other men in my life, I would say, listen, when I'm upset, when she really upset, you know, I would just in there, can I just, and they were like, what? Look, even be upset, even though they be angry. There's something about when you just grab her and hug her and hold her, tell her, baby, it's gonna be okay. Again, now she's gonna say, get out of me. I leave me. At you. I said, all that. I move where end of the day, so that you got her, but all gonna be good. Just what you see showing up is fear. Her fear that she's going to lose you, it's going to end, something is going to happen. When she's angry with you, like she wants that she be angry with you and it not cost you the relationship. Okay, okay. We want that. Strong, strong hold her. Listen, can you hold me? Can you hold? Do you have the capacity to hold all that I am? Do you have the capacity to hold my mandate? Do you have the capacity to hold me up when I'm we bind the hand of the enemy messing with our airwaves in the name of Jesus. Okay, he ain't got no authority. So, but you got to understand that that's something that we need, and usually we haven't had it. God forbid it be a woman that has abandonment issues, and so she has fear of abandonment. She has attachment issues, so she hasn't had healthy attachments with her parents or with her caregivers or with the people that are close to her. Like there's a whole like stuff, a lot of stuff going on. So when you hold her though, like it creates a space of security. That's why they swaddle newborns. Newborns are swaddled because it creates a sense of security for them. It reminds them of being in the womb, being in vitro, right? And that's the safest place that a baby can be, is right there snuggled up in mommy's womb, in her uterus, honey. Listen, let me tell you something. In that amniotic sac with water around them, getting all the nutrients they need from that umbilical cord, feeling all warm and safe. So when they come out, no wonder they scream because they hit that cold air. What happened to the warm water? Like y'all know that they in there like they in a whole heated pool. Listen, and then they come out to this cold air and you know be cold in the hospital. Listen, they like, what is this? What? That's how we are. So understand this: God's timing is designed to bring you out of the womb, out of the uterus, out of that water when it's time. Now we want to rush the time and we may think we're ready before we're ready. And the shock of the air may be too much for us. But God's timing is perfect. Yes, Nick. We got a whole timeline, but it isn't God's timeline for us. See, when you get in touch with God's timeline and you get in touch with trusting Him. So, listen, let me just be transparent. I can trust God with just about any area of my life. I'll trust him for a job, for a move, for transportation, for a house. I'll trust him for all of that. I'll trust him to connect me with the right people. I'll trust him for all that. God says, go here, I'm going to go. Like, let me tell y'all where I have struggled trusting God. I have struggled trusting God with relationships, romantic relationships. I struggle with that. I'm like, God, I don't know about you. I don't know about you. You be taking too long. And I don't know what you're gonna pick. So let me just pick. Well, we see how this works. 5 marriages, 5 divorces later. Okay. It didn't work out so well. Okay. He thought we was gonna be gone. Probably the reason that that's that have been least to give God is the thing that I desire most. How about that, y'all? How about maybe the thing that you desire the most that you're least hesitant or most hesitant to post? Um, because who cares with my heart more than the one who created me? Who the one who established me and established my purpose and the plan for my life before the foundations of the world. But sometimes that head knowledge and that heart knowledge is different. I told you, head knowledge is for information, for translation. So what he's been doing is he's been penetrating and he used my dad to do that. Like he really used my daddy to know how much he loves me. Bring my daddy what he did. My daddy loves me the way he does. All of that to mend my heart that holes in it that I the tavern were closed off where no one could get to it. Like literally, the stones have been rolled away, and it's amazing to me because I knew when I went to my daddy that my daddy was going to be key. Like being with my daddy was going to be key to my next everything, my next in terms of ministry, my next in terms of my career, my next in terms of my forever husband. Um, the one, not a one, but the one. I knew that, but it was that healing that had to happen. It was that mending of broken places, places that he didn't even break because he wasn't there, you know? So just to watch this process has been amazing to me, but it all had to happen in God's timing. I knew that 55 was going to be significant for me. That double five, that double grace, like I knew that this year was going to be if but when I turned 55, I had no idea so much would happen in such a short period of time. Now, as I'm getting close to the end of my 55th year, there's some things that God's going to close out, right? I know the month of July is going to be a month where He brings things to completion. There are things that are going to be completed, and I'm going to be moving into in my birthday month. So when August hits, it's going to be brand new beginnings on a lot of stuff because some other things will have been completed. I just implore you, trust God's timing. God's timing is impeccable. It is perfect. It is beyond comprehension, beyond comprehension. So let's have an amazing day and do just that. If you guys would like to sow into my ministry, go to Cash App, $DRV Walters, or PayPal.me/DRV Walters. If you need to put a seed in the ground, put a seed in the ground and watch what God does. But in the meantime, in between time, do not forget this. God's timing is perfect. Trust His timing. I promise you, He won't disappoint. Love you guys to life and life more abundant. Have an amazing, incredible, and epic day. Be blessed. Mwah.